I'm an ordinary high school student, said no anime MC before. However, Honoka Takamiya do find himself feeling like a background character when Ayaka Kagari, a popular girl who is well-liked by everyone, enters the bus. Despite being the chairman's daughter and having the option to receive a ride to school, Kagari chooses to ride the bus along with the other weird kids. Now in class, we see Takamiya sitting next to Miss Popular, not next to a window, which means he is just a normal kid. Well, that was until he accidentally dropped his eraser. To his surprise, Kagari's son picks it up for him. This kind gesture angers the other girls, who begin to question Takamiya, insinuating that he deliberately made Kagari pick up the eraser. The main BHS, another student, whose name I shit you not, Obama-kun, to beat up our boy as a punishment. However, what was the real punishment is hearing him attempting to sound cool in English.
The best is yet to come!
She warns Takamiya that if he has learned his lesson, he should never dare to gaze at Kagari, whom she refers to as the princess. While carrying out his tasks, Takamiya walks towards the garbage can to dispose of some trash. He notices a stuffed toy bunny with its ears sticking out. Curiosity prompts him to pick it up, and to his surprise, he discovers a note attached to the stuffed bunny. Suddenly, Takamiya's attention is captured by a descending structure heading straight for him. Truck-kun has a new rival, and it's Building-kun. Takamiya awakens, contemplating that he never had the chance to hold a girl's hand. He then smells a delightful scent in the air. To his surprise, Kagari is holding him like a princess while defying gravity on a broomstick. She has saved him from being isekai virgin. Whispering, Kagari warns Takamiya of their pursuers, just as two menacing bunny creatures launch an attack from above. In a moment of panic, Kagari lets go of Takamiya, causing him to fall to the ground. Miraculously, she swoops down to rescue him and valiantly fights off the monstrous bunnies. Amidst the intense battle, Takamiya sees a girl calling him to safety. With no sense of stranger danger, Takamiya rushes to whom he thinks is the hottie's friend, only to discover that he is now confronted by an entire army of rabbit monsters. As one of the creatures menacingly approaches to axe our boy's head off, Kagari intervenes just in time and saves the damsel in distress. Puzzled by her actions, Takamiya questions why Kagari would risk herself to shield him. Without hesitation, she explains that he is her princess. Yes, you heard that right, it's princess, not prince. After declaring her unwavering commitment to protecting him, another rabbit monster lunges toward Takamiya and bonks him aside, causing him to lose consciousness. In a display of her extraordinary powers, Kagari incinerates the monsters by unleashing a torrent of her million clovers. Takamiya awakens in a room where he finds Kagari seated across from him. As he contemplates whether it was all just a vivid dream, Kagari reassures him that it was, in fact, real. Takamiya begins to grasp the truth, realizing that the countless coincidences that have brought them together in the same classrooms and school buses were no mere coincidence. The next day, Takamiya and Kagari enter the classroom together, causing jealousy among the other girls. Later, the Fawn Club Blondie, along with her Obama-kun, tries to apprehend Takamiya, but Kagari saves him, fixes his tie, and to add insult to injury, promises to burn whoever tries to cross him. Fast forward some useless events, Koreshi, the girl behind the building collapsing, introduces herself as a tower witch. She then summons an entire army of rabbit soldiers and launches a full assault on them. As usual, our boy blacks out, and when he opens his eyes, he finds Kagari doing one of these. With tears in his eyes, Takamiya accepts Kagari's dedication and decides to have faith in her. Kagari then uses her true powers to destroy all rabbit soldiers as well as their master, Koreshi. The next day, new transfer students, Koreshi, Rin, and 3 other girls join the class. Kagari reveals they all are witches. Takamiya enters the classroom and is taken aback to find Kagari hosting a kinky session. As he panics at the sight, he wonders if he has entered the wrong classroom. Kagari greets him and reveals that she has cast a spell on him, causing him to subconsciously choose the torture room. Out of 5 girls, Kagari has managed to capture only 4, as one of them has escaped. She explains to Takamiya that they are witch-hunting the girls he has been paranoid about. Koreshi claims they are after Takamiya because they want something in his body, referring to it as the white stuff. One of the girls points out they might be giving the wrong idea. As Takamiya's mind melts, black goo falls to the floor, and the 5th girl, named May, drops and abducts Takamiya. Thinking that she has tricked Kagari, May finds herself engulfed in her thoughts. However, Kagari drops down gloriously to free her princess. She assures him not to worry and then confronts May, whose dog bites Takamiya's neck, causing an explosion. The girl notices that Kagari has sustained the same injury as Takamiya and takes advantage of the situation to escape. Later, Takamiya wakes up in Kagari's room and finds his wounds gone. Kagari wears a scarf and explains the plan to take down the mastermind, while Takamiya urges Kagari to teach him magic. The next day, the couple goes out for some fun. While walking, Kagari explains that in this world, witches are mainly of two types: those who seek to protect the world, known as workshop witches, and those who use magic for selfish purposes, called tower witches. Workshop witches set up and build workshops in areas where humans have gathered and built cities. Each designated sector has a workshop taken care of by workshop witches. The two decide to take a breather in a cafe where witches chill. There, our boy meets the student council vice president that happens to be busty, clumsy, and a witch. After annoying Kagari for a bit, the two leave to buy some stuff. During their visit to a shopping mall, a girl spots Takamiya and recognizes him from the wanted poster she had. She knocks him to the ground, and as her friends arrive, they join the fight against Kagari. Kagari warns the girls to stay down and defends herself against their attacks. The blonde girl attempts to shoot Kagari with dual guns, but the hottie blocks the bullets with her cape. When the gun runs out of ammo, Kagari pulls in a new Yashiki move and blasts the girls away. After the matter is solved, they head towards the workshop, which happens to be the school they attend. They meet the chairperson, Kagari's mom. She greets Takamiya and explains the workshop's custom that when a subordinate witch takes an apprentice, that person must be brought to the witch's superior. Takamiya discovers disturbing letters in his school locker, revealing jealousy from other girls due to his friendship with Kagari. Yet this doesn't worry Kagari, who doubles down and joins her desk with the loser to help him with his studies while looking good in glasses. She later triples down on their relationship during a game of tennis, when Kagari assists Takamiya in improving his skills in front of the jealous simps. On their way home, Takamiya and Kagari notice the bus turning cold and sense the presence of Schwartz. Kagari attempts to make a move against her, but ends up frozen by Schwartz. She then tries to harm Kagari, but it has no effect on her. Thereafter, she stabs Takamiya, and he drops to the ground. The loli tells him to open his eyes and calm the F down. When Takamiya looks down, he sees there is no wound and he doesn't feel any pain, while Kagari falls to the ground behind him. Schwartz explains that the trick is called damage transfer. Any injury Takamiya suffers is instead inflicted upon Kagari's body. However, this power only works when the two are close to each other. Schwartz further explains that Kagari bears the wounds inflicted on Takamiya due to the rules of the contract they have signed. Schwartz shows Takamiya a pill, asking him to swallow it as it will release the magical white substance within him. The loli tries to make him swallow with a forceful kiss, but Kagari was like, enough with that loli behavior shit, and destroys the pill. She then asks Takamiya to close his eyes for a while as she transforms into a humanoid form to pin that walking, talking FBI case to the ground. Realizing that her barrier has reached its limits, Schwartz leaves the scene. Takamiya wakes up outside the school and realizes that Kagari is unconscious beside him. He takes her to the school infirmary. Later, the two dress up in witch cloth to start training, but not before Kagari takes photos of her boy in his new gear. She explains that the robes make them lighter when they wear them. Also, they come with their own magical brooms that they can summon, and to top that, the robes make them invisible to ordinary people. With the first demonstration ending, they take flight around the city on Kagari's broomstick. While flying, Takamiya notices a girl from the school in distress and urges Kagari to help her, to which she refuses, stating that the problems of everyday citizens are the concern of the police. Defying Kagari's decision, Takamiya summons his own broom and starts free-falling. With the instruction of his mentor, our boy manages to take control and fly towards the problem, landing in the midst of a girls' group who had noticed his unconventional arrival. The girls start bullying and mocking Takamiya, but Kagari suddenly appears from behind and unleashes her power, causing an explosion that incapacitates the girls. She reveals to Takamiya that it was a trap. The enemy was aware of his weakness and used the Tower Witch's disguise as the girls to lure him into their snare. Elsewhere, we see Medusa, a powerful witch, being held captive within a monolith, requiring tight security measures. The guard assigned to watch over her considers an easy task, dismissing Medusa as a mere wall decoration. However, Medusa's eerie smile terrifies the guards, and suddenly the glass encasing her begins to crack. Meanwhile, the Tower Witches gather around a table, discussing strategies to defeat Kagari. Their plans are interrupted by Schwartz, who introduces herself to the group. Back in Takamiya's household, our boy wakes up not feeling it, so his sister Kasumi helps him get ready. While he brushes his pearly whites and his sister fixes his hair, Kasumi questions him about what he did last Sunday and why did the princess, aka Kagari, call him. Not wanting to drag his sister into the chaotic world of witches, he lies his ass off, but the redhead sees through the lies and holds him at dryer point. On his way to the bus stop, Takamiya worries about hiding his secrets and facing the Fawn Club's bullying. Running late, he falls into a trap set by Tower Witches. They reveal their plan to separate Kagari and Takamiya, as their unity strengthens Kagari's powers. Suddenly, a towering teddy bear ridden by Kasumi enters the scene, starting the battle of giants when the blonde witch summons her giant rabbit and counterattacks Kasumi's assaults. Fueled by her determination to protect her brother and the city, Kasumi unleashes a massive explosion, which was counterproductive since the city was turned to rubble. The chairperson watches the news of a giant explosion in the city that miraculously resulted in no injuries. After the fight, Kasumi reunites with Takamiya, whose only is what happened to his queen. So Kasumi points at Kagari. She was being chilling on the bear this whole time. Kagari reveals that she had missed Takamiya and suggests that he should move to her house so they can be together all time. Meanwhile, in the chairperson's office, she receives a phone call informing her about Medusa's prison escape. Kagari and Takamiya's family gather in the living room. Takamiya's mother reveals a surprising secret. Takamiya and Kagari are actually engaged. The girl with brother issues, laying at her mom ready to take her life, while the brother sits in disbelief. The mother reveals this arrangement was made by her and Kagari's mother, who she had known in high school and wanted to marry but couldn't since they were ladies living in old-fashioned Japan. So when they married and had children, they made a promise to marry them instead. Although Takamiya panics due to being a generic harem MC, he soon calms down and goes with the flow to keep his mother in the dark about witches, unlike his sister who turns out to be a big perv with no sense of personal space. Seeing her daughter is far from saving, Takamiya's mother holds Kasumi down while the couple leaves. When they arrive at Kagari's mansion, the couple takes an elevator to the queen's room. On their floor, they encounter Medusa, a tower witch. Kagari instructs Takamiya to go to the 12th floor while she confronts Medusa alone. Panicked in the elevator, Takamiya decides it's time for him to fight for Kagari. Medusa reveals that Kagari cannot be injured since she's connected to Takamiya. Medusa then attempts to turn Kagari into a statue, prompting Takamiya to recall the pill given to him by the loli. In a desperate bid to save Kagari, Takamiya takes the pill, and a white princess named Evermillion appears. She launches an attack against Medusa, causing a tremendous explosion that reverberates even to the chairperson, who spits her coffee upon seeing her mansion being destroyed, making her understandably angry. The white princess declares that the only way to save themselves is for Takamiya to have an unwavering belief in Kagari. She departs, mentioning that the first seal has been broken, and they will meet again. As Medusa regains consciousness and returns, Takamiya solidifies his belief in Kagari, which prompts Kagari to awaken. Well, that and a kiss on the cheek that fired up the main girl. Empowered and stronger than ever, Kagari fights back and defeats the tower witches. Seeing the mansion will take time to be fixed, Takamiya takes Kagari to his home, where his mother was crying for her little son leaving her. He tells her that they will be moving in instead of moving out. At school, the teacher Mikage asks Kagari and Takamiya to meet him in the student guidance office, but they end up in the science experiment lab instead. Mikage, looking like Crawlo from Hunter x Hunter with his drip, reveals that there are 5 seals within our boy, and when Takamiya swallowed the pill, he broke the first seal inside him. The chairwoman, who granted him freedom, might end up taking it away, since to make him live freely with no care in the world, she had to promise other higher-ups that the seals will not be broken. After that, Kagari takes Takamiya to the announcement room and asks him to gather the entire school. Using her powers, she dismisses the former student council president and appoints Takamiya as the new student council president. Takamiya has a dream in which his mother reveals that Kagari is his elder sister. And you know what we think about that. However, Taka-san is against keeping it in the fam and wakes up to realize it was only a dream. The next morning, the tower witches decide to wait for an opportunity to attack. Takamiya's mother and sister return with Kazuna, Kagari's mother, after buying new cloth for her. Takamiya goes to the bathroom, and as you know, when a guy enters a room in anime without knocking, naked chicks are bound to be on the other side. The tower witches emerge from the bathroom and Kagari's mom confronts them, but the princess defends the tower witches and tells Kazuna to stop. Kagari and Kazuna engage in an argument, pointing out that Kagari is hiding something. She soon discovers that her beautiful daughter and a snake woman that was prisoned for centuries emerge, and by God, that unholy union looks cool. However, coolness in this series doesn't add to the power level. What we trying to say here, Kazune mobbed the floor with Kagari and Medusa. Loverboy switches with his queen last second to tank a punch instead of her. Later, when Takamiya wakes up, he finds himself along with Kagari confined in a punishment room. Kagari's son explains that after the seal got broken, Takamiya might potentially become dangerous to everyone, so she allied with Medusa and they decide to defeat Kazune, as doing so might make her an ally and help them everything turn back to normal. They break out from the prison all fired up, ready to fight Kazune, who in turn lost all motivation to fight after other witches from another sector came to take Medusa before she tortures her. The couple realizes that she is unaware the seal has been broken, and so they walk back home peacefully as if nothing happened. The next day, Kasumi wakes up and discovers the Tower Witches eating breakfast in the kitchen, causing her to freak out. After calming down, she goes to her big bro's room to wake him up, but instead, she finds Kagari on top of Takamiya wearing a sexy nurse outfit while she examines him. They all head to school, and while walking, Kagari reminds Takamiya not to use his powers even in times of danger. At school, Takamiya learns that he has become the president of the student council. Suddenly, a rebellious squad attacks the school, causing chaos. The rebels invite Takamiya to a challenge. Toko explains to everyone what happened the previous evening, revealing how the former student council president falsely accused Takamiya of assault, a thing no man that loves anime truly would be accused of since we never leave our rooms. Kagari tells Takamiya she will handle the situation, but he refuses and decides to man up and accepts the girl's challenge to a fistfight. Takamiya enters the gymnasium like a gladiator surrounded by the entire school, waiting for him to fight against the bear killer. Taka-kun unleashes his magical powers and manages to overpower her but doesn't finish the job. The Tower Witches and the princess enter to end it and give the people what they want, a proper finish. The tiger chick realizes she was deceived by the ex-president and life returns to normal for everyone. Later, Kagari takes him to the top of a tall building, where she reveals that he is going to learn how to fight. Suspicious that Takamiya is hiding something, Kagari questions him, to which he explains that he asked Kasumi to teach him because Kagari refused to do so, which in turn made the best girl train him since watching your quote-unquote fiancé taking a bath with his sister is just not it. Therefore, the harsh training begins, and the first lesson Kagari teaches Takamiya is how to manifest his magic. She assesses his power using the power of Oppai and then summons a fire monster with a powerful fire-breathing ability, encouraging Takamiya to fight without holding back. The battle starts, but Takamiya struggles to defend himself, prompting Kagari to intervene and stop the fight. Kagari lifts him and drops him from the top of the building like a mother bird, dropping her little chicks to an uncertain fate. As Kagari touches his finger, a blast occurs and a giant Kagari appears in the form of a mini-skirted nurse. You could say lots of things about the MC Lim, loser, virgin, and boring, but one thing is for sure, he's a man of culture. Rinan, who is a witch by the way, follows Kazuna underground and informs her about a witch calling herself the messenger of the tower. The message instructs them to tell the workshop head that the town has been taken hostage. Back in the sky, the couple is chilling on the flying broom. Kagari reminds Takamiya that they have final exams the following week. A week later, everyone gathers at the dining table for breakfast before Kagari and Takamiya have their first exam of the day. Meanwhile, Kazune encounters the Tower Witch. Kazune initially believes she has been invited for negotiations, but Weekend reveals that there will be no negotiation. She explains that she invited Kazune to witness the destruction of the town for the explosives she has placed to target ordinary people whom the witches protect. As everyone evacuates the school building, Kagari takes Takamiya with her. Weekend informs Kazune that she is after the White Princess and has been behind all the previous attacks. Kazune's powers are rendered ineffective due to a contract thing, where she burns her power to protect the people in the city, meaning when she protected the people from the mass destruction, she used all her power, leading to her capture. While the events unfold, Kagari takes Takamiya to an underground safe point where he meets Rinan again along with the other witches that protect the school. They suddenly attack Takamiya. The bear killer reveals they plan to defeat Kagari temporarily so that they can keep them away from the action in Weekend. As Takamiya tries to find a way to escape from the room, Kagari wakes and concludes that her mother got defeated and lost her power temporarily. Determined to save the day, they escape the room with brute force, as the workshop witches can't currently use magic due to the barrier that is usually powered by their leader being down. Thus, the couple walks for like 2 hours around the safe point of the workshop witches to an exit located on the hills behind the school. To their horror, they witness the entire town engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, the workshop witches gather together, discussing the cause of the explosion. Fortunately, no civilians are harmed due to the contract they have, but many witches have been affected since the contract only protects civilians, not witches. The protective barrier is now gone and the workshop witches are unable to use their magic. Takamiya is overwhelmed by the sight of the burning city, but Kagari reassures him that they can make things right. Kagari guides Takamiya to sign a contract with the city, which would reinstate the barrier and restore their ability to use magic. Meanwhile, in the courtyard, a workshop witch with bombs attached to her robe arrives. She holds a message from the Tower Witch. Weekend demands that Takamiya be brought to her within 30 minutes. Back underground, Takamiya and Kagari encounter a Tower Witch named Gibraltar, who is waiting for them. Kagari defeats her without using magic, all thanks to her mother's training. When the workshop witches attempt to contact the princess and Takamiya, they discover that the power couple has escaped from their cell. In the meantime, Weekend has taken 7 more witches as hostages within the school. The lowly, who somehow slept through all the destruction, wakes up and learns about the situation in the town from her subordinate, making her all fired up to face the powerful witch that took down her rival Kazune. Back at the school ground, the workshop witches head toward the enemy, hoping for negotiations, while Kagari and Takamiya reach the sacred ground of the workshop. Kagari explains to Takamiya the significance of signing the contract, emphasizing that it will only be temporary. Just as the bombs are about to detonate, Takamiya signs the contract, restoring the power of the workshop witches and enabling them to defeat Weekend. Weekend is now imprisoned by the workshop witches, awaiting the arrival of the chairwoman. However, to everyone's shock, Weekend reveals bombs, real ones, not magic, attached to her back and detonates them, shattering everything around her into pieces. Takamiya feels the impact of the blast since he's now like the protecting deity of the city. He has visions of what transpired and realizes that Rina and her friends are in danger. Determined to save them, he decides it's time to confront the Tower Witch and uses his power. Surprisingly, Weekend seems pleased with his decision and departs from the courtyard. Sensing something off, Kagari knocks out her lover boy. Unconscious, Takamiya takes a journey into the past, where he sees Kazune getting off the bus with a younger version of himself. They take a walk together, and Takamiya becomes engrossed in the memories of Kagari. Suddenly, Mikage interrupts, welcoming him to the world of chance. He assumes that Takamiya must have signed the town contract since he is here. Mikage takes Takamiya to show him the world's wonders, a starry sky where each little light represents a human being's life. He explains that this is where civilians are evacuated during times of disaster. He also tells Takamiya that his mother is here too, and once the town is restored to normal, everyone in this space will be returned and their memories of what happened will be erased. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Takamiya's sister Kasumi fights against a giant black bear with the help of her trusty big bad bear. The Tower Witches watch the fight from a distance. Simultaneously, Takamiya lies in bed with a high fever, prompting Kagari to be worried. Determined to take down Weekend at the church, Kagari sets out on her mission. Meanwhile, as Takamiya has tea with Mikage, Mikage reveals that he was the one who erased both Takamiya and Kagari's memories. Kagari at the church launches an attack on Weekend, who is using hidden bombs to stop her. To counter it, Kagari focuses her magic on defense, but without Takamiya by her side, she struggles to do much. Weekend taunts Kagari about her weakness. However, Kagari surprises Weekend with a sudden blow, explaining that she brought Takamiya's power with her, aka she wore his shirt and used the power of Horny to fuel up. And thus, the battle between the two continues. Kagari starts to figure out Weekend's magic. Meanwhile, back in Takamiya's dream, he and Mikage confront an enemy. Mikage reveals that they are after Takamiya and urges him to snap back to reality. Takamiya wakes up, naked by the way, and asks Satori about Kagari's whereabouts. Mikage contacts her from the other world and warns her about a bomb placed by the enemy at the excavation site, set to detonate in 30 minutes. He asks Satori to take Takamiya to Weekend. Meanwhile, as Kagari becomes exhausted and overpowered by Weekend, Weekend delivers a powerful blow and mocks Kagari for not fully understanding her magic. Just in time, Takamiya reaches Kagari and asks her to suck his power so they can stop Weekend. Kagari absorbs Takamiya's power and regains her strength. She demands that Weekend hand over the bomb detonator, but Weekend reveals that she has already detonated it. Outside, the teddy bear approaches Koreishi, attempting to inform her about his defeated master's condition. But the cat girl doesn't understand, so she retrieves her rabbit companion and makes it communicate with the bear. Once the rabbit explains that the redhead is injured, they go to help her. Back to the main action, reacting swiftly, Kagari grabs hold of Weekend while Takamiya experiences a vision of an impending explosion. After snapping out of his vision, Weekend blames Takamiya for the deaths of the people. Kagari silences her with a slap, while the main man attempts to break another seal. Takamiya rises to his feet, attempting to use his magic, but his body refuses to comply and collapses. He awakens in a dream where Evermillion appears and informs Takamiya that he can restore everything, but it comes at the cost of his life as well as Kagari's, which he accepts since he is no Eren Yeager. Loverboy wakes up and tells his queen about what he did. Kagari doesn't get mad, as she wouldn't want to live in a world without him, yet she still wants to protect him, so she trades fates with him, revealing that she had a promise with the White Princess. Weekend then swoops from behind and stabs Takamiya. Takamiya, though, manages to pull the knife out and fight back, but refrains from killing her. With nothing more to do, Weekend departs to another safe point to replenish her power. Satori sees her walking out unharmed, making her wonder if they won. She also sees Schwartz facing the bitch, but doesn't stick around to see what will happen next, since the power couple's safety is more important. Eventually, everything returns to its previous state. Well, except for the best girl being alive. As Takamiya struggles to accept Kagari's death, he gets a call from the drip teacher. They discuss how Takamiya was supposed to die, but Kagari taking his place means there was another contract between her and the princess, which in turn means they can bring her back. Therefore, Mikage advises them to create a magic circle, which may offer a chance to save Kagari. Meanwhile, Schwartz punishes Weekend, who is frustrated by her failure and Takamiya's survival. Atori and Takamiya perform the necessary rituals, leaving one step, a kiss on the lips. As you know, harem MCs are as worse they get, so when the man kissed the sleeping beauty on her forehead and refused to kiss the girl back to life, I was furious as hell. Like, why the f did I watch this trash? Oh well, I guess it's too late to question it. The forehead kiss ends up enough and Kagari joins us back. Meanwhile, Schwartz tortures Weekend, exposing the flaws in her plan and explaining why she lost. Kazuna arrives just as things return to normal, demanding that Schwartz hand over Weekend so she can beat her up. A heated argument ensues, which escalates into a fight between the two on who gets to beat the psycho chick first. Later, the White Princess reveals to Takamiya that when Kagari broke his contract and returned Takamiya's power to him, he was able to save the town alone, nullifying his life debt. Takamiya then wakes up, finding Kagari at his door. They head to school together, but their flirtatious banter is interrupted by the arrival of the 5 witches. A skirmish breaks out, with Kagari effortlessly defeating them, marking that everything went back to normal. The end.